Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Did this lady from our first story think she could just claim she upgraded to first class and kick someone out of their seat? Serves her right to have the plane leave without her. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I've upgraded to first class. Background: airline captain commuting to work purchased a full-fare first-class ticket to get there. Lived in Atlanta at the time, domiciled in Houston, and commuted. Normally you could get a jump seat in the cockpit, but on this auspicious day, that was already taken. Pass riding wasn't an option because there were no seats in coach and only one in first. Pass riders can be bumped for fare-paying passengers, and I needed to get to work, so I plunked down my credit card and bought the last seat in first. Boarding has occurred and I'm peacefully in my seat waiting for pushback. Cast of characters: me, commuting pilot; EW, entitled woman; FA, flight attendant; CPT, captain of the flight I'm on. EW: you're sitting in my seat. You'll need to move right now. Me, checks boarding pass. Nope, this is my seat. Not gonna happen, sorry. EW: you're an employee. You're sitting in my seat. Move now. Me: may I see your boarding pass? Clearly there's been some mistake. EW: you may not see my boarding pass. I showed that when I boarded. I've upgraded to first class. Now move. Me: you'll need to resolve this with the flight crew. I'm a passenger. EW stomps off, resembling an irritated Dolores Umbridge, and returns with FA. FA: good morning, Captain. May I see your boarding pass? Me: sure thing. Shows boarding pass. FA: ma'am, that's his seat. He paid for it. EW: well then, throw him off, dear. I've upgraded to first class, and that's now my seat. FA: I'll need to see your boarding pass, ma'am. EW: you will not. I showed it when I boarded. I've upgraded to first class. FA: how did you upgrade to first class? EW: I upgraded to first class. I'm more important than an employee. Now get him out of my seat. Someone's called the cockpit, and the captain has left the flight deck to deal with this. CPT: ma'am, I'm Captain Wallaby. Not his real name. I've just spoken with the gate agent. We certainly apologize for this awkward situation. The agent has corrected your paperwork and has a voucher for future travel for you as well. Please go fetch your new boarding pass and your voucher, and we'll be on our way. EW departs up the jetway, a triumphant smile on her face. The captain turns to the FA and says, prepare the doors for departure. The doors close, the captain returns to the cockpit, and as we push back from the gate, I can see the EW pounding on the glass next to the jetway. It was a nice ride to Houston. The coffee was wonderful. And our second story: the new neighbors. To start, I went to visit my parents this weekend, who are both just eyes. My parents live in a fairly expensive and safe public neighborhood that they retired to after a long career life. Nice school in the community, a few community pools, a few trails in the same area. Average homes here are around 1.5 million. But because it's a public community, meaning it has no gate to enter, it picks up crime every few years. Lately, there have been break-ins near the top area of the community. When there's crime in a normally safe area, this can put some people on edge, reporting everything. My mom got reported for walking the family dog at 7 p.m. on the same loop she does every day at the same time for the past 5 years. A bit on me. I'm 6 foot, big beard, bald head, moderately built, and tend to wear button-down shirts when I'm not working. Where my story begins is just outside my parents' place. Since it's a public community, all the streets are public as well. It isn't illegal to park here if you aren't a resident. It's just out of the way of anything but homes, so there isn't really a reason anyone who isn't visiting or living here to park here. I have a brand new Chevy Colorado ZR2 truck. I parked it literally outside my parents' house and visible from their living room window, which is where we were sitting and talking. I'd say about 45 minutes later, a tow truck pulls up and starts hooking up to my truck. I ran outside yelling obscenities. Tow truck says they had a call about an illegally parked vehicle. After explaining that it's a public area and it's by no means illegal to park here, I asked for the contact info of the reporting individual. I didn't get much, just a first name. Karen for the sake of the story. I asked my parents, and they gave a fair-sized frown like they already knew it had to be her. My parents had new neighbors that moved across the street a few months back. I'll save some of their stories for another time. I'd rather not get too sidetracked. I walk over to the house, see various toys and such all over the front side of the house, a bit messy, but I was a mess as a kid too. Knock, knock. No answer. I then hear a bit of yelling at her kids to stop running around. Now I know she's home, so I just kept ringing the door. As I'm waiting, I notice that she has multiple cameras on me, important later. She finally answers the door. She asks me what I want in a bitchy tone. In a calm voice, because she seemed a bit annoyed already, "Why did you call a tow truck on my vehicle?" Karen, "You shouldn't be parking there. I've never seen you before. It's illegal to park here if you're not a resident. We don't need convicts around here looking for homes to case." OP, convicts? What the duck? Why the duck would you think that? This is a public street. I can legally park here anytime I wish. I'm visiting my parents and have a right to park here without being towed. Leave my truck alone, or I'm not going to elaborate. I walked away. Not 10 minutes later, I looked into the window and I see two boys, maybe 10 years old, egging my truck. I ran outside, grabbed the hose, and sprayed the boys and my truck down. Thank God for thick wax coat. Guess which house those two boys ran to? I decided to leave it be. I'm leaving in 30 minutes anyways. 15 minutes later, a police officer walks in front of our door. I open and talk with the officer. PO, is that your truck? OP, yes it is, officer. PO, we received a report that the owner of that truck was driving recklessly in the neighborhood and almost ran over two children. After getting out of the vehicle, he yelled at the children and proceeded to hose them down with a strong water hose. OP, officer, that's a heck of a story. Would you be interested in coming into my parents' home and we'll pull up the cameras while I explain my side of the story? PO, he accepted and we entered the house. While we viewed my parents' cameras and I explained the sequences leading up to the current, I explained the full conversation I had with Karen, including her insinuating that I was a convict and that I partially made a threat. I apologized that I should have caught myself sooner. I also mentioned the multiple cameras Karen has at her door. PO, thank you for your time. I may be back in a bit after I have a talk with your neighbor. 20 minutes and a bit of yelling in the background later. PO, I've talked with the neighbor about her and her children's actions. Will you be interested in pressing charges for the destruction of property? OP, no, officer, they're just kids, likely doing what Karen told them to. Were you able to check her cameras? PO, all right, no, she denied access. She shouldn't be bothering you again, but if she does, please don't hesitate to call the non-emergency line and ask for myself directly. I left not long after. So far, there hasn't been any retaliation against my parents. And our last story. Don't mess with an engineer. I worked for a company that provides specialized equipment used in manufacturing. To protect my anonymity, I'll have to be vague about what exactly this machine does. During my time working in this field, I got to know many clients who would need these machines installed and serviced. One of these customers we'll call Jake. I later left the company for a different job, but Jake apparently kept my number. One afternoon, I got a call from Jake that they wanted a new unit installed and another unit needed maintenance and wanted to know if I was available. I let him know that I left the company, but that I could pass him on to someone who could help. He tells me he'll pay 2 times my current rate to install the unit over the weekend. He lets me know that the company has increased the rates for installation and the company just can't afford it. The instructions they sent over just aren't clear enough and their engineers are scratching their heads trying to figure it out. He begs me to consider it, and I agree. For more context, installing this unit can take a good few hours or up to a day on your own. The company gives you 2 options. You can either pay for an engineer to come and install it, or you can save money and they'll send instructions so the customer's own engineers can install it. The instructions aren't easy to follow, and it's company policy that if someone has started to install the equipment, the supplier wouldn't get involved since they couldn't verify that any of the pieces were broken. This will be important later. I drive down on the weekend and they show me the boxes of equipment. I set to work and make good progress installing the unit. Around 6 hours in and I'm stopped by Jake, who greets me. I let him know I'm nearly finished and he tells me, "Sorry, but they just don't have the budget to pay you." He understood my frustration, but his engineers can take it from here. To say I was frustrated was an understatement. I wanted revenge. There's a small button inside the unit that changes the unit into test mode. This is done to perform maintenance on the unit, but it's impossible to configure the unit with this button pressed. It's only possible to reach this button using a pen, so it's not easily pressed during installation. Because of this, the installation instructions don't mention it. There's no real way of telling the equipment is in test mode, it just won't work normally. I think you can guess where this is going. I click the button, collect my things, and leave. Monday morning, I get a call from Jake. I declined. I knew my old company wouldn't get involved since I already started installing the unit. I knew his engineers would never figure it out. I just had to let him stew. A few days later, with many missed calls, I finally pick up. Jake is furious. He asks me where the hell I've been and why I haven't been picking up the phone. He tells me they can't figure it out how to configure the machine and they need my help. I tell him, why is this my problem? You won't pay me. He told me he was sorry and they would work something out if I could get there as soon as possible. I told him, oh no, you're going to pay me 7,000 pounds up front before I do anything. I'd never felt this powerful before. He screamed at me for a bit and hung up. He called back a day later after saying he's sorry for how he acted and that if I could come fix it, he would pay me, in a totally defeated tone. He tried to fight it, saying he'll pay when I was done, but I was having none of it. After a bit of back and forth, he agrees to pay me. The money hit my account and I came in the next day. The look of confusion over his face when I took out a pen and changed the unit from test mode was priceless. It was even more priceless seeing his reaction to me packing up my tools and leaving after only 20 minutes of configuring. Easiest 7,000 I'd ever made. Don't try to mess with a professional problem solver. How stupid can one be, asking for professional help and then not paying? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.